Okay, today we're going to be securing our TrueNAS with MFA or multi-factor authentication by enabling OTP, which is one-time passcodes or one-time password code. You'll see the entry here. This is where you enter it, and it's as simple as having something like Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator on your mobile device. We can enter our code, and we'll be able to log in. So let's show you how to do that now. Okay, to start this off, let's get logged into our TrueNAS where we don't have 2FA enabled. And pretty simply, what we'll do is we'll go over to credentials on the left-hand panel and we'll select the option 2FA. We'll get the screen for the options of 2FA, like how many digits the 2FA code is going to be. So I'm going to leave it at 6. We also get the interval. 30 seconds is pretty standard. We'll leave it there. And the window, the default for this is 0. I like to set mine to 5 seconds. Basically, this means if the code expires before you have hit enter when you're typing it in, this is how long after the code expires that you will have that the code will be valid for. So if the code expires and you hit enter 2 seconds later after it expired, it will still let you in for a full 5 seconds. We will also enable two-factor authentication for SSH. This means a few things when we do this. It will disable SSH access for other users other than root. So if you are having users accessing SSH to the TrueNAS, such as an admin or another user, they will no longer be able to SSH into the TrueNAS. Only the root account will have access. And I can show you that here. So right now, if we try to log in as the admin user, we have access. No problem. After we enable two-factor authentication, we will no longer have access as admin. So once we have our options here selected, we select the option at the top, enable two-factor authentication, and it will pop up with a warning, and we will use our mobile device to add a QR code to our authenticator application. So have your mobile device prepared. I'm going to get mine ready right now. So we'll go ahead and open up Microsoft Authenticator. We'll select the plus at the top and we'll go with other account, and it will be ready for us to scan a QR code. Then we'll click enable two-factor authentication and confirm our selection, and we will scan our QR code. It'll add to the authenticator application as IX systems at the bottom. Go ahead and select that. And now we have our one-time passcode. You can go ahead and close the QR code on your TrueNAS. And now this is enabled. So we can go ahead and we can log out. And when we come to our login screen, we can see here we have a new text field to enter our one-time passcode. So let's go ahead and log back in with our 2FA enabled. We'll get our code from our Microsoft Authenticator. And the code is 218322. And that should get us logged in. Now, when we originally came here and we set up the 2FA with the SSH enabled, we do have a couple more steps that we need to do in order for us to use SSH on here. We need to enable the SSH to allow root login, and we also need to provide the root user with a password. So we'll go ahead and we'll go and enable those two things. So the first thing we can do is we'll go over to credentials, select local users, select our root user. And we'll see here that password disabled is true. So let's edit this user. Then in the right-hand pane, select the option or deselect the option to disable password. And that will allow us to enter a new password into the password fields. Let's put a new password and then go ahead and confirm that password. And then don't forget to click on save at the bottom. Now we need to go to our services. So select system settings and services. Go to SSH and configure. And select the option to log in as root with password. Save. And then don't forget to restart the service. Now that the service is restarted, we can take a look at our SSH and we can test with the admin user. And this should not let us in. It'll give us an access denied, as expected. So we will try again with our root user. We'll enter the password that we just created. And now we have to enter our one-time passcode or password from our authenticator application. Go ahead and do that. And that should let us in. And now we have SSH access via the root user and a one-time password. So let's say you want to disable this, or you lose access to your authenticator and you don't have access to SSH because your authenticator is desynced or something happened to it, you lost access. We can disable the OTP or 2FA in TrueNAS, but you do need to have physical access to the machine or at least a console into the machine using IPMI or iJack or whatever it is you have that would allow you direct keyboard access and basically a screen access to the machine. SSH won't work because obviously you need to use your one-time passcode to get in there. So let's log out here. So let's go ahead and I will show you how to disable the OTP. You can see it's still enabled here on the login screen. Let's load up our console screen or our monitor at the TrueNAS. And this is typically what you'll see. 1 to 9 options with reboot, shutdown, so on and so forth. The option we're looking for is 7 to open a Linux shell. This will log you in as the root user on your TrueNAS, like an SSH session, but direct on console. You don't need a username, you don't need a password, you don't need 2FA. So from here, we will be able to disable the two-factor authentication. And the command is to use TrueNAS's middleware client. So we'll type in the following. It's midclt call auth.twofactor.update, and we will enter this here. So it's a single quote, a curly brace, a double quote, enabled, and a quote, and then a colon, and we're going to set it to false. Oops. And then we'll close that curly brace and single quote. Hit enter. It should return the secret and the status and all that of your two-factor authentication. What is most important is that the last option for enabled equals false. So we should be able to go back to our web UI and refresh, and we shouldn't need to enter a 2FA code. Let's go check it out. Okay, so back at our login screen, we can just go ahead and refresh, and our text field for the 2FA disappears. Go ahead and enter our credentials and log in, and there we have it. So we can go back to credentials and 2FA, and we'll see here that it is asking us to enable it as it is not enabled. So you should from here be able to reset it or renew your secret, rescan your 2FA into your new authenticator or your new device, or resync it, whatever you need to do, and you should be back and ready to go. So I hope this has helped you securing down your TrueNAS with 2FA or MFA. It's pretty important these days. There's a lot of vulnerabilities out there, and this is one of the most important types of security that we can use to have security in our lives for these systems. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.